and how they get to respond to the realities of life. Today is World Youth Skills Day, and you get to look at youth unemployment standing between 64% and 70%, and about 400,000 youths are released into the job market annually, and yet the job market only has 9,000 slots to take up in terms of jobs. About 30% of the youth who are institutionalized actually qualify in Uganda but cannot find jobs. Now that's already a hiccup. You get to have the situation worsening for those that are semi-skilled and unskilled youth. So they remain unemployed or even underemployed, and they never get to exploit their full potential. Now the Executive Director for Wezesha Impact, Solomon Kayiwa, is here to expound more on youth skills, employment, and the way forward. Good morning to you, Mr. Kayiwa.
Good morning.
How are you? I'm
doing well and happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Yeah. Allow me to first dig into your past. When you got out of university, what did you study at university?
At university, I did a bachelor's degree in social work and social administration.
Okay, and when you got out of university, was the job market ready for you?
It wasn't ready for me, but I must say that I was very lucky that I grew up as a very young and ambitious young man, that even when I was still at university, I was already trying to think about the job market and what I need to do to prepare myself. And I was just very fortunate, yes.
Okay, so tell us more about World Youth Skills Day.
So thank you so much. The World Youth Skills Day is coming up following a declaration by the UN in December 2014, where they declared that they would introduce the Youth Skills Day to enable, to create more awareness about youth skilling and the idea of skilling as an avenue to address the issues of underemployment and unemployment. So this comes in for us to just reflect on the whole issue of the skilling and why we need skills and how this can actually help and enhance the issues and enhance the solutions around unemployment and unemployment.
Okay, all right. My understanding of skills is that someone has the ability to do something. What's your understanding or interpretation of the word skills?
Skills, it's a very big word that has quite a lot of meanings and can be interpreted in very different ways. Number one, when people think about skills, they mostly think about the hard skills. So somebody knows how to do tailoring, bakery, carpentry, and others. And then also there's another interpretation that is looking at the soft skills, which are skills around communication, negotiation, public speaking, and many others. And you realize that both the hard and soft skills are very critical and are very important for somebody to thrive in any community. So I think a key thing that we even need to do is just increasing more awareness about this whole idea of skills, and not just embarking on hard skills, but as well looking at the soft skills.
Okay, the 2022 theme is around transforming youth skills for the future. How does that feed into the economic crisis right now that has greatly affected the young generation?
Yes, that's an interesting question. So one of the things I would like to note is that because of the COVID-19 situation, the youth have been greatly affected. And the skills that are being demanded by the private sector actors, the different firms, the different employers are also changing. So the World Youth Skills Day gets us to also reflect on what has changed. Where do we need to change in terms of service provision to ensure that the young people are better prepared to actually meet the needs of the employer, the firms, and other private sector actors. Yeah.
You have mentioned what has changed. So from where you stand in, being a solution to these youth challenges, what do you mean when you say that statement?
That a lot has changed?
Yes.
So you realize that now technology, for example, has become more important than before. And for me, that is an area of skilling that has changed. Previously, we used not to have a lot of online trading, for example. Today, people are trading online doing online deliveries. When you look at Amazon, what's making Amazon big is basically that. So because of the changes with the COVID-19, reimagining of the skills has become even more important. Like, for example, the services. Recently, I was reading in the papers and I was seeing this business that runs medical services virtually. Like, you call them, literally call them, and then they support you online and connect you to a nearby health center. So those are some of the things that have changed that really need to get into the system of the employers and other skills development providers, such that as we are skilling youth, we are not just skilling them for the sake, but skilling them to meet the demand that's available.
I'm going to ask you a tough one.
Yeah.
We do have the parish development model.
Yes.
And it has good intentions.
Yes.
Do you feel like that model by government is going to actually address the unskilling of youth and the unemployment of youth and actually get them to a better status in terms of financial, socio-economic?
Okay. Yes, the parish development model is also a very interesting model, and as a practitioner in the space of youth skilling, one of the things that really comes up is, okay, we are running this model, but what other additions need to be incorporated within the model to ensure that it's providing a holistic solution to the youth unemployment challenge? I would really advocate that, I mean, away from handing out resources, away from enabling youth to access microcredit or grants, the skilling bit should also be emphasized. Because one thing is that even when a youth, for example, has started their small business and they don't know how to do customer care, they'll invest all the money, but they won't be able to succeed at the business because the customers won't be retained. So how do we build this parish development model to also incorporate the skilling aspects that will enable the youth be better prepared to run their businesses successfully and put the resources that are being invested into great use?
Okay, all right. The other challenge that we do have right now is the fact that there's a poverty line. The reality of the matter is that we're a third world country. We are trying to knock at middle income status,
Yes.
but the World Bank is saying, no, we cannot open for you yet. So poverty in Uganda is more than 30%, of which you get to look at the young people, the youth actually falling in that bracket a lot.
Yes.
COVID-19 even worsened the situation.
That's
so
true.
I guess my question to you is that, do we see this meaning that Uganda's youth are actually facing situational poverty?
I think yes and no. I mean, for example, the COVID-19 situation happened globally across the world, and it hit so many communities across the world. So when we talk about the issue of situational poverty, I would really move away from that and dwell more on what are we doing to ensure that the youth are better prepared. From when the young person is born, a child is born, they go through the education system. What experiences are we giving them that will prepare them to be able to thrive in life after school? Or even when they leave school early, how are they prepared to be able to thrive? So the issue of situational poverty, I mean, the COVID-19 has been everywhere, but I would like to really say that it still goes back to us on how we prepare these young people. How do we prepare? I mean, what experiences are we giving them to thrive at the end of the day?
Okay, all right. So currently, what are the major causes of poverty, especially among the youths today? Yes,
I would start with the first one. I mean, usually many young people drop out of school at an early stage, so sometimes they miss some of the education experiences that could help them, I mean, maybe secure a job or get that certification that they need to enter into a formal job somewhere. But also moving away from that, the other causes usually is the mindset. Many young people also don't think that they can create a job for themselves. When we are growing up, we're always told that go to school, read hard, get good grades, and apply for the job and get into a job. That's not the case. When you look at Uganda statistics, over 400,000 youth graduate from school every year, but it's only 9,000 jobs that are available. So even when you have the best grades, you can't be sure that you'll get into the job market and secure a job. But we need to know that, I mean, at the end of the day, we need to change our mindset. Why don't you think about studying, getting the good grades, and creating your own business? Yeah. So that's something that causes a lot of poverty amongst the youth, but also the spirit that sometimes I feel like the young people also feel so sorry for themselves, and they feel like, oh, every time somebody has to connect me, or I need to start my business, somebody has to invest a lot of capital in me. And yet, I like to tell the young people that you have the required resources and the capital that you need. I mean, when you think about money, it's just part of capital, but there are many other things that are involved when it comes to capital.
Well, and I'll add voice to that. Money is simply a tool to access things that you need. That is all it is. It shouldn't be the primary decision maker for you. Now, you have made mention of something peculiar, that study well, get your good grades, and you have the ability to start your own jobs. We've been having this war of arts versus sciences.
Yes.
And it's very hard for sciences to actually have self-employment. We have seen it globally. The arts actually end up employing the sciences.
That's true.
They end up investing the money into science to be able to develop, create, innovate, etc., etc. So I'm trying to imagine a science student who you're saying do your good grades, they have excellent grades, but when it comes to employment, they're still going to be challenged because theirs is a kind that is dependent. It is only existence in an ecosystem. It's not independent, you know.
Yes.
So what would be the solution to that category of youth?
Yes, I mean, it's interesting with the arts and sciences, and I always try to run away from talking about that. I don't want to be hated by my science friends. But one of the things I would like to say is that I think, for example, with government, we need to give equal opportunity to both the young people that go through sciences and the ones that go through arts. Because, like you said, I mean, most of the enterprises are actually being run by the arts, students, the people that did arts. The other day I was reading the papers and I was seeing this whole lineup of the cabinet ministers. Most of them are from the arts. So I think it's really the idea of giving equal opportunity and the idea of, I mean, skilling both the arts and sciences so they can understand that if I'm doing medicine, how else can I mean, other than being employed in a government hospital, what is that community health project that I can run in my community, or community health business that I can set up, as well as pushing the same to the arts students, just to know that, okay, I did maybe my Bachelor of Business Administration, what can I do to actually promote business education in my community and maybe get people to pay me to teach them about record keeping. Okay. And there you're making money. Okay, all right. Now tell us about Wezesha Impact. Yes, so Wezesha Impact, Wezesha is a Swahili word that means enable, and we work to enable youth engage in productive employment. And our focus is really around the piece of skilling. When we look at the vocational education system in Uganda, it focuses more on the hard skills training. So it will focus more. What is hard skills training? The hard skills, I mean, teaching somebody to be a good carpenter, for example, teaching somebody to be able to do tailoring, to make the cakes. That's the hard skill. But then our work is really focused around going to the vocational schools with the soft skills. I mean, while the youth are getting all these hard skills, they still need skills like communication, negotiation, critical thinking, and these are very key for them to even start their enterprises. And when we are working with youth, we also give them the skills around entrepreneurship, many youth just don't even have the idea of being able to start a business. And yet that is where the world is going. You will see that the people who are doing so well across the globe are people that are running their own enterprises.
Okay,
creating solutions.
Tell us about the success stories that you pride in at Wezesha Impact.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many, but among the many, I'll highlight one of the youth called Baraka. He's based out in the Nakivari refugee settlement. And when we started working with this youth, he had no hope. I mean, as a refugee, he felt like he had no opportunities. But through our programming, he was able to learn that, okay, I actually have a skill and can read more about creating Vaseline and making Vaseline. And he started making Vaseline. And the unique aspect to it is that he started making Vaseline that has a chemical that does mosquito repelling. So it's basically a mosquito repellent vaccine. It's providing a solution to the malaria issue in the community in Nakivari, but at the same time earning an income to this youth. We've also worked with, I mean, the other classic example is of a youth called Christine. She's based out in Lubaga. And what she's doing is really making craft shoes. And while she makes craft shoes, she's created this network of vendors across the Lubaga community and around Kampala that do vend her shoes. And for her, together with her family, I mean, they're employing about 5 people, and these are young people. And the Christine I'm talking about is a young person of 23 years. And she's earning an income, supporting her children at school, and also supporting the family as well. Okay,
all right. Well, Wezesha Impact, between 2014 and 2020, they've impacted about 10,317 youths. 55% of those are female, and 45% of those are men. You get to look at them economic opportunities that have been presented up to the tune of about 76%. That's very, very impressive. And then, of course, what they do, 78% of Uganda's population are youth. That's a reality. 83% of the unemployed are youth. That's another reality. And 50% youth are not using their vocational skills to earn money. Now, Solomon, what are those challenges that you have encountered in trying to aid these youths with skills to move them forward?
Thank you. One of the challenges has still starts with the mindset. The first time we reach out to the young people, they are always thinking money. They are thinking about, I mean, for me to start a business, I need to have a lot of money. And that is where our job actually comes in, to really get them to know that you need all this range of skills for you to be able to create your own job. So that has been one of the challenges, the mindset, and that's something that we always deal with. The other challenge that we have encountered has really been around the government engagement. So there are so many of these government programs. I mean, there's a government skilling program, and it's been quite a challenge to get collaboration with government, because you know that if you work together, then you are able to achieve more together. So that is the whole idea that we have. But in the process, I mean, we are in the process of working on this and continue to engage with government. We are happy that with the vocational schools that we are working with, because right now we are partnering with over 100 vocational schools across the country. And many of them have accepted the model and are really taking them up as part of their mainstream programming as the vocational schools.
Solomon, you've mentioned government 3 times, so clearly government is very, very important. Exactly. Tell us about the responsibility of government in youth skilling in Uganda.
Yes, so I think one of the key things that is very important for on the side of the government is, first of all, ensuring equitable access to the TVET training and the scaling programs. You realize that you go to some of the communities in this country and they even don't have any vocational school or skilling programming happening there. And the government can really work with us, the development partners and the different NGOs and other skills providers, to actually ensure that as we are operating, we are spreading these opportunities across different communities. So the equitable access, and of course also looking at the idea of engaging more young people who are female into the skilling programming is very important. The second thing I would like to note with government is the idea of looking at the education curricula. So people have always said our education curricula is so theoretical than practical, and the government basically has the mandate around curriculum improvements and revisions. So the government has already done something around the O-level curricula and other curriculums as well, but would like to ask that government can also engage with the vocational education curricula and also enhance those curriculums to incorporate skilling as a key component.
Okay, all right. So as we wait on government to respond to their responsibility, as Wezesha Impact, what are you doing to actually aid in being the solution to the problem?
One of the things we are doing is, first of all, rolling out our program to more vocational education institutions. We are growing every year. Right now we are operating in the north, east and central regions, and we hope that in a few years we shall be in the west and southern parts of the country. So we are doing that already. But number two that we are doing is just building collaboration with other civil society organizations. Right now we are running a program with Goal Uganda through the MasterCard Foundation. It's called the Young Africa Works program. And so those collaborations at least help us to continue working as we wait for government to come in.
Okay, all right. Now, as a way forward in terms of youth skilling for the future,
Yes.
as Wezesha Impact,
Yes.
what are the way forwards? Are there other programs that you're going to actually implement in this regard?
So a key program that we are looking at is engaging more with the government to see, to explore opportunities for incorporation of key concepts that we are delivering as part of our curriculum to the youth. So the systemic change in terms of the curriculum improvements and working with government is one thing. The second thing that we are doing as a way forward is really creating awareness, more awareness with civil society organizations, working with different private sector actors and firms to ensure that whatever we are doing is actually market driven. And we are not just working on programming that is from our side as the NGOs, but is driven by the private sector actors who are the main employers.
Okay. Finally, if someone is interested in Wezesha Impact, how do they get in touch?
So our offices are located in Mengo along St. Emma Road, and you can also check our website at www.wezeshaimpact.org. So when you get to the website, there are lots of contacts. You'll be able to reach us.
Okay, all right. Your parting shot, Solomon?
Yes, I would like to, first of all, thank NTV for putting up this slot. I mean, it's amazing to see that as the media, you're also coming up to spread the word about skilling, and we applaud you for that as a leader in this sector. And I would like to encourage the young people out there that if you don't have a job, you don't have to wait to get a job, but you need to start. You can actually start. Think about those skills and abilities that you have. Think about that young person who has started something and learn from them, and then as you learn from them, you're able to create your own. And together we'll fight and come against this issue of underemployment and unemployment.
Well, thank you so much. Solomon Kayiwa, who is the Executive Director with Wezesha Impact. We were talking about World Youth Skills Day and how they are aiding some of those solutions to create a more conducive environment to transform the youth and transform the youth skills for a better future. And that's definitely a positive thing this morning. Now, later on, I will share with you my own story of a skill I had that turned into money, just so to drive the point home that it's not really about your paperwork, it's about your mindset. And if you believe it, then you can do it. Now, youth are not a problem, we are a solution. Thank you so much for being a part of our Kickstarter into our Tech Not. Stay with us.